Hey everybody, this is Joe Price. So in this video, I'm going to be showcasing my latest farm, which is a temple mob farm that can also be used to farm two bosses, the Golem and Plantera. So let's head over there now and take a look at this farm in action. Alright, so here we are. So this might look familiar if you've watched my previous video. This design is actually based off my underground mob Autofarm, and I'll provide a link to that video in the description box if you haven't checked out that video yet. So basically the way that this works is we'll summon a slime, use the top lever here to teleport into the kill chamber, and the moment we do so, the farming process will begin. Now, the idea behind this farm is that we're going to be bouncing off these two dummies, and that will give us invincibility frames, and these invincibility frames, they'll basically keep us alive against all of the different mobs. Now, on screen here, although it's not lit up, I have crimson blocks, I have corruption blocks, 200 each, and I also have 300 ice blocks. So I have 4 biomes, so I can have drops of 4 biome keys here. And of course, the corruption mimics and crimson mimics can spawn as well. As you saw here, the crimson mimic just spawned. Now, the way that this kill chamber works, the actual damage is being done by the slime. And I can also summon 1 or 2 minions. You can't summon any more than that because I'll actually disrupt the dummies directly below. But yeah, summoning 1 or 2 minions can help with the damage dealing. The slime does summon damage, so anything that boosts summon damage will boost the damage done by the slime. Now the mobs themselves are being summoned into this, or at least teleported into this chamber, from a spawn surface, which is just off screen to my right. Now I'm just going to go into free cam mode here, and we'll take a look at where exactly they're coming from. So there it is. There's that spawn region over to the right here, and as you can see, it's lined with pressure plates, and 1 tile below the temple tiles, or the temple bricks, we have teleporters, and that way any of these mobs that spawn here will be teleported right away into the kill chamber. And in the kill chamber I have a whole bunch of hoik teeth which propel these enemies directly below the slime, and thus you can see these enemies are getting killed pretty quickly. The flying snakes, they'll always fly initially away from the player, which is why there's a column of pressure plates and teleporters on the far right here. And that way we'll be able to teleport it and kill most of these mobs extremely quickly. Yeah, so there's a pretty high spawn rate. And in terms of the advantages of setting up this kind of farm in the temple, it's basically threefold. So number one is it gives you an opportunity to farm for a lot of power cells. You can see that there's an ultra directly above me, which allows me to summon a golem. And as I'm farming these mobs for their power cells, I can continuously summon the golem and pick up the golem goodie bag. Now, this is a really good way of farming developer armor. In fact, this is one of the fastest and most consistent ways of summoning a hard mode boss. All of the other hard mode bosses, it takes quite a bit more effort in order to farm up their summons. Yeah, so just take a look at what we have collected thus far. Notice we've collected 4 power cells already. Yeah, so let's give the golem a go. Now, when we summon a golem, we can of course summon some minions into this little kill chamber, but we got to be careful not to summon a minion that does piercing damage. 2 really powerful minions that don't pierce are the ravens and the pygmies. So I'll just go with the pygmy staff here, and I'll get rid of the Sharknado that I summoned. I summoned the Sharknado because it can go through walls, and it's really effective in killing off the mimics. Unfortunately, the corruption and crimson mimics, they often like to stay attached to the player, so they will not get hit by the slime, but that's when just 1 minion is going to be good enough to kill them off. Alright, so yeah, let's get rid of the Sharknado. Let's summon a few minions inside this chamber. And yeah, let's summon a golem and see how that goes. So we've got some spiky ball traps strategically positioned to hit the arms. And the whole chamber is flooded with spiky balls as well. Yeah, so once this golem dies, we can immediately summon the next one and just continuously summon these golems, since the power cells, they drop very, very often. Yeah, so the second major reason to set up this kind of farm is for the solar tablets. Well, solar tablet fragments, I should say. We need 8 of them to construct the solar tablet, so that we can farm the solar eclipse anytime we want. Yeah, and the third major reason to run this farm, it's actually a very effective way of generating money. Again, just to pull up the drops here, 2 things that drop very often are these 2 yo-yos, the Yellets and the Amaroks. And they sell for quite a bit. It's usually anywhere between 5 to 10 gold. So, yeah, it's a great way of generating a lot of cash. Alright, so let's take a look at one additional feature of this farm. You might have noticed this hoik track directly up top. And the purpose behind that is to start a cascade timer. This cascade timer controls the teleporting in and out of a Plantera bulb chamber. So let me just shift the camera over here. Okay, here's our Plantera bulb chamber. There's already a Plantera bulb here. And this is basically an artificial jungle. Although it's a little bit hard to see here because of the blue background. I have a whole bunch of platforms that are 2 tiles wide. These are jungle grass platforms, which permit the spawning of Plantera bulbs anywhere here. Now, the spawning of Plantera bulbs, we don't need to clear any of the jungle vegetation, because anytime a Plantera bulb spawns, it completely uproots whatever was there initially. Now, I also don't have continuous stretches of these jungle grass blocks, simply because anytime there is a piece of vegetation that is 3 tiles wide that spawns, it actually prevents the breakage of the bulb sometimes. So this is designed to eliminate the spawning of any vegetation that's 3 tiles wide. So the idea is as follows. Once we get the timer cascade going here, every 2 minutes and 20 seconds, it will teleport the player directly into this chamber, just momentarily. And at the same time, teleport a dummy into this hoik track. When a dummy passes over the first pressure plate, it'll actuate all of these grass blocks, breaking any bulbs that might be present. And when the dummy hits the next pressure plate along this hoik track, it'll just deactuate all of these blocks again, and at the same time teleport the player right back to the kill chamber. Now, this happens extremely quickly. But the player does have to be teleported in here, because anytime a Plantera bulb is broken, the player has to be within a certain proximity to that bulb for Plantera to actually be summoned. If the player is too far away, the moment that the bulb is broken, Plantera will not spawn. Now, of course, if we want to increase the chances of the bulb spawning, we just have to either make this a little bit bigger or have multiple of these types of chambers. For me, this is usually good enough. Usually, when there's no bulbs present, a bulb will spawn within an in-game day. Bulbs, by the way, cannot spawn within 100 tiles of one another. So if such a farm is constructed, it has to be fairly far away from the natural jungle, just to make sure that there are no bulbs in the natural jungle that might interfere with any of the spawns here. Now, in addition to the timer cascade teleporting us into that bulb spawn chamber, we can also do it manually. So I have a lever here that will allow me to teleport in and teleport out and break the Plantera bulb. So let's actually see how that works. And I'll get rid of the free cam mode here. Get rid of my minions, because minions, turns out, they're not even necessary for the Plantera to be killed fairly quickly. Yeah, so let's see how this works. There we go. We teleported in and out very quickly. You saw the Plantera bulb was broken, and as you can see in the top, or in the bottom left corner, it says Plantera has awoken, and now we just sit and wait for Plantera to come. Now when Plantera spawns, all of the mobs stop spawning, and yeah, Plantera basically goes right to player position, and it's large enough to actually be hit by the slime. And the slime is dealing 75 hits, and this is 75 damage every 10 game frames, so we're doing quite a bit of damage here. It takes about a couple of minutes for Plantera to be killed in this fashion. Strangely enough, when the Golem is summoned, it doesn't actually stop the mob spawns, which is really convenient because that way we can continue farming for power cells. Yeah, so this is the only type of fully automated hard mode boss farm that can be created in hard mode. All of the other hard mode bosses, they cannot be automated. And unfortunately, the Golem cannot be automatically summoned just by holding down the right mouse button over the altar. You have to actually click on the altar to summon the Golem. Yeah, so this is something that can be set overnight, come back the next day, and probably end up with like 10 Plantera goodie bags. The Planteras, the rate of spawn, it's something that can reach about 4 times per hour or so, which is pretty decent for a fully AFK farm. Yeah, so there you saw Plantera went down relatively quickly. We collected the goodie bag automatically. And of course, as I mentioned in the previous video, one advantage of this kind of farm setup is that we collect all of the drops automatically here. Yeah, so there we have it. Very convenient farm for farming the 2 bosses and farming all of these mobs, and collecting a lot of gold along the way as well. Yeah, so that's it for this particular video and this particular farming run. In my next video, I'm going to be talking about 2 mechanisms. One is going to be a discussion of the actual timer cascade and how that works exactly, how it can be built. And I'm also going to be talking about another mechanism that I featured in my previous video, and that is how to do the automatic surface changer. Again, that will be a mechanism that uses hoists as well. So as always, thank you for watching, and feel free to download the world if you want to try out this farm for yourself. Just remember that in the teleport hub you should enter C6 if you want to check out the temple farm specifically. Alright, so that's all for now. We'll see you in the next video.